Anomaly Zone Zero is still going strong in Season 2, especially on this new patch. After a long while, we're finally getting a dedicated Anomaly support unit that, unlike our certain Catboy, actually works for the whole squad and provides a lot of good buffs that completely change how you approach team compositions and also builds for your agents. Either you want to know if Yuzuha is going to be a good unit for your account, or you just want to get ready for her, in this video we'll be talking about her kit, unique mechanics, disc sets, weapons, teammates, and much more. Welcome back, name's Muzzy, and this is my Yuzuha guide. Let's start by talking about her kit, and I'll do my best to only focus on the actual important part of her kit. The most important skill is her EX special, not because of the skill itself, but because it applies a debuff on the enemy called Sweet Scare. This debuff not only unlocks a lot of Yuzuha kit, it also has some unique mechanics that makes Yuzuha a really strong unit. You can trigger it using your EX special or her ultimate, but the duration of the debuff scales only with your EX special. So, as you can guess, it's really important to maximize this skill. Now, since we're talking about EX specials, Yuzuha has access to two different EX specials. One which is quite long but deals better damage, daze and build up, and another one which is way faster but you can only use it after some specific skills. These being her perfect dodge, dodge counter, quick assist, and assist follow-up. At the end, it just depends if you really need a quick assist or not, because you can just use the stronger version and swap away without using the quick assist triggers with her EX special. Let's go back a little bit and talk about her basic attacks. Not the basic attack string itself, because this is quite basic and you're probably not even using it that much, but some of the other basic attacks she has on her kit, including a damage over time that is related to her Sweet Scare debuff. Sugarburst Sparkles is one of the reasons why Yuzuha is so good for Anomaly units. It triggers every second, and by default, it deals physical damage and build-up. However, if you swap another unit and they hit the enemy with an attack that deals their attribute damage, the damage over time from Yuzuha will change to that unit attribute. For example, if you hit the enemy using the first basic attack from Miyabi, you won't trigger the flavor match effect. But as soon as you hit the enemy with an attack that deals frost damage, the damage over time will deal frost damage and build up as long as it lasts, or you reapply another Sweet Scare on the enemy. And that's not even the best part. The best part is that all of this build-up won't be considered for your anomaly damage calculation. If you know how Bangbu build-up works, it's just like that. It's a build-up that won't affect your damage, but helps trigger anomalies on the enemy. If you don't know how anomaly build-up and damage works, then I highly recommend checking out my complete anomaly guide that I'll be linking in the top right corner. Oh, and just so you know, this damage over time cannot trigger anomalies. You need someone else to hit the enemy and trigger the anomaly. Yuzuha has also a parry stance. That's right, holding down the basic attack button will put Yuzuha in a parry stance which protects you from damage, deals daze to the enemy, and regenerates a sugar point for you. This sugar point is consumed whenever another active character hits the enemy, and is the resource we need to trigger her Aftershocks, Hard Candy Shot. This Aftershock is just an extra source of damage, but more importantly, hitting an enemy affected by Sweet Scare will trigger a stronger version of Sugarburst Sparkle, Sugarburst Sparkle Max. This one actually deals a lot of damage and build-up. But since this Aftershock attack has an 8-second cooldown, you don't even need to worry about your sugar points. Lastly, the Tanuki also has some basic attacks that kind of remind of Lucy Boars, and it actually works exactly like them. It only benefits from Yuzuha initial stats, and they are not squad members, meaning that any kind of combat stat is usually not going to increase the Tanuki damage. The exceptions are effects that target friendly units, such as Lucy's signature weapon. We don't need to talk about her dodge because, besides the interaction with her EX special I mentioned before, it is really just your default dodge. Now, Assist Follow-Up is quite interesting because just like her EX special, Yuzuha has access to 2 different Assist Follow-Ups, and this one can be quite infuriating for those players that like to mash down the attack button after a parry. That's because if you just attack after your defense assist, you're going to use the default Assist Follow-Up. However, if you wait a little bit until her umbrella flashes, you can use a stronger Assist Follow-Up that even triggers the Sugarburst Sparkle Max, you know, the stronger version of the damage per time. So yeah, it is really worth it, and I highly recommend using this one over the weak Assist Follow-Up. Just stop mashing your attack button and it will be easier for you. Chain Attack is just your default support chain attack, which triggers a quick assist when using it, and also recovers a single sugar point for Yuzuha. What actually matters, and is quite interesting, is her ultimate, which, despite the long animation, recovers 25 energy for your other squad members. So use it whenever possible, since extra energy is always helpful and you don't want to waste decibels on your Yuzuha. Finally, her core skill is kind of Astra levels of damage potential for your whole squad. However, unlike Astra, it's easier for you to reach the maximum attack potential. You only need 3000 attack, and just like Astra, you get 1200 attack for your whole squad. You can trigger Tanuki Wish for your whole squad whenever you hit the enemy with your EX special or ultimate. So it's really easy for you to keep track of both her buff and the debuff on the enemy. Oh, you also get 15% damage for your squad, which is lower than what Astra gives you, but it's a good buff anyway. And if you activate her additional ability by using Anomaly or Spook Shack unit on your squad, Tanuki Wish also grants increased build-up, anomaly damage, and disorder damage, based on Yuzuha's Anomaly Mastery. That means that for skill upgrade priority, core skill as usual will be the main focus since your attack buff scales with it. Next up on the list, you should focus on your EX special, since the extra duration helps with buff uptime and makes it easier for you to maintain it. Follow up with your basics, ultimate, and assist attacks, since these can help you deal some extra damage. Finally, only level your dodge if you have spare resources, because you won't be using it that much. And that's it for Yuzuha's kit. But before diving into builds and gameplay style, I just want to share some tests that I did regarding Yuzuha damage over time. At first, I was really excited with the idea that I could, for example, use Lighter to increase Yuzuha fire damage, and this would increase her damage over time as long as it was aligned with fire damage. It doesn't work. Using Lighter or even slotting a fire damage disc won't increase Yuzuha damage for fire or any other attribute besides physical. What's funny is that using a physical disc will increase the damage. However, as soon as you change the attribute to something else, the damage disc won't work anymore, and your damage is gone. So if you're thinking about some weird builds like this one, I'm sorry, it's not going to work. However, buffs such as Lighter Fire Resistance Shred still works and affects your final damage. Another really interesting interaction is, for example, Burnies with Yuzuha. The damage over time is considered an attack from Yuzuha, and this means that Yuzuha can trigger Burnies after burn anytime. Now that you understand everything regarding Yuzuha's kit, let's talk a little bit about her gameplay. Yuzuha is a support unit that won't consume a lot of field time from your units while still providing team-wide buffs. Basically, you just swap to Yuzuha using a defensive assist, and remember to wait a little bit before using her assist follow-up. This gives you better damage and even build up for your Sweet Scare attribute, so even if you're losing field time from another unit, Yuzuha can easily compensate this with this extra build up. After this, you can use your EX special if you have enough energy, but if you don't, just swap away to the next unit you want to use. Since the buff lasts for 40 seconds at the maximum skill level, you don't even need to worry about refreshing it, and instead you can just focus on dealing damage with your other units. When deciding which unit to apply the flavor match effect, there are a lot of things you need to take in consideration. For example, when testing Miyabi, Yanagi, and Yuzuha, Yanagi is usually lacking the build-up when compared to Miyabi. So the logic here would be to use flavor match with Yanagi so you get more consistent disorders. However, since the enemy that I'm playing against is weak to ice, using the flavor match on Miyabi allows Yuzuha to deal some extra damage, while also helping get more consistent shatters that will benefit from the enemy weakness to deal increased damage. So overall, there's not a hard rule when it comes to setting up your flavor match. But if you really want to get a recommendation, use it either on the attribute that the enemy is weak, or use it on the attribute that you lack build up, so you can get more consistent disorders. Finally, use your ultimate whenever available, since the extra energy can help your other units keep up with consistent damage, and you also avoid losing decibels for Yuzuha as well. And now for the part that everyone's been waiting for, and I know some of you even jumped straight to here, so hey, welcome back. Let's talk about building your Yuzuha. For this set, the only non-negotiable set is 2-piece Fatal Melody, and the reason for this is because Yuzuha needs the extra Anomaly Mastery it provides, so you can scale and maximize her additional ability potential. The 4-piece set is quite flexible, but overall, energy regeneration is always a good thing to support units. So my personal recommendation is going for 4-piece Swing Jazz. However, it is really important to know that the uptime is not going to be that huge. You're mostly activating it during the stun window, and that's assuming you're using Yuzuha's chain attack. So in case you really don't need the extra energy regeneration, you can use 4-piece Protopunk, although honestly, the uptime is really close to Swing Jazz. And unlike Swing Jazz, you're not even using it properly during the stun window. Not to mention the 2-piece effect is completely useless on Yuzuha, so I wouldn't recommend it. You can also use Astral Voice for a piece if you want to maximize a single unit DPS potential. However, Yuzuha herself is not able to keep Astral Voice with 100% uptime. Not to mention that for the Zoro teams, keeping the buff on 2 different units is almost impossible using Yuzuha alone. For these stats, Disc 6 is always going to be Anomaly Mastery, since, once again, you need all this Anomaly Mastery to maximize Yuzuha additional ability. And trust me, Anomaly and Disordal damage are really strong buffs. This 5 will always be attack, since Yuzuha also needs at least 3000 attack at core F to maximize her attack buff. Disc 4 is usually going to be attack as well, but if you can get enough attack substats, you can go for Anomaly Proficiency on slot 4. As for substats, attack will be your top priority until you hit the cap. After this, it's really important for you to get Anomaly Proficiency if you're playing Yuzuha in a physical team composition. If not, you can get whatever you manage to get, including crit stats. The only priority is getting enough attack rolls to hit 3000 attack. And now, let's talk about weapons, and as you can guess, her signature engine will be the best option for her, especially because you need it if you're looking to maximize your additional ability. With a higher base attack and 60% energy regeneration, it makes it easier for you to achieve the 3000 attack you need, while also giving you good energy regeneration. The weapon effect gives Anomaly Mastery for Yuzuha, and whenever you hit the enemy with an aftershock, which in this case it would be the hard canned shot, the whole squad also gets Anomaly Proficiency. The requirements are quite restrictive and means it will only work for Yuzuha. Lucy's signature is an amazing option for free-to-play players since the Tanuki works as a friendly unit and helps you get maximum stacks. Combat attack is a buff that can be used by anyone, so it doesn't matter if you're playing an Anomaly or attack-focused team. Yuzuha can't use the Vault, and Bashful Demon is just giving extra attack, which means Yuzuha will have no energy regeneration. So these are not good options for her. Here are some numbers comparison, and as you can see, the damage increase Metanuki Morphosis is going to provide for you is higher in Anomaly focused teams. On Miyabi, for example, since she won't scale that much with Anomaly Proficiency, the damage increase is not as huge as you would expect. But Jane Vivian and Yanagi Vivian, for example, get better results from using her signature, and this gets even better the lower your Anomaly Proficiency. Unfettered Game Ball can be used if you're playing Yuzuha in a Miyabi or non-Anomaly team, since the flavor match makes it really easy for you to keep the buff with 100% uptime. Basically, Yuzuha's signature offers around 10% damage increase compared to Kabunda Cannon for your team, based on how much you rely on Anomaly damage. And now for those looking to invest a little further on Yuzuha, let's talk a little bit about her Mindscapes. Mindscape 1 not only offers an increase for her additional ability Anomaly and Disorder damage, which are strong damage buffs. It also offers 10% resistance shred for all attributes, and I always say that resistance effects are really good. So as you can guess, the damage increase of this Mindscape is actually quite interesting. Mindscape 2 offers another round of interesting buffs that you can easily keep with 100% uptime. The damage increase here can be higher depending on how you're using the extra chain attacks, sugar points, and anomaly buildup, but overall it offers a similar damage increase as her first Mindscape. Mindscape 4 damage potential is quite hard to calculate, since the extra damage and buildup is nowhere near enough to make a huge difference. However, getting access to more consistent quick assist can make Astral Voice a really solid option for Yuzuha, and make sparing enemy attacks more rewarding. These things are not factored here, since you need to adjust your build and gameplay in order to make use of this Mindscape. Finally, Mindscape 6 is interesting because, just like Yanagi, Yuzuha can add base multiplier to your disorder damage. This offers a huge damage increase for teams that heavily relies on disorder, and since Polarity Disorder from Yanagi can benefit from this increased disorder multiplier, it makes a huge difference for her damage potential. This Mindscape value once again will fluctuate a little bit, since you need to adjust your gameplay around disorders to maximize the value of this Mindscape. Personally, I would recommend going for Mindscape 1 before going for her signature engine. The increased potential for her additional ability can help offset the lack of anomaly mastery her signature provides. But most importantly, you get access to a 10% all attribute resistance shred that increases the damage of any attribute on your squad. After Mindscape 1, get her signature engine. This way you can maximize her additional ability, increase the value of Mindscape 1, and still provide other buffs for your Anomaly Agents. Mindscape 2 will be the best stopping point, since everything above requires specific things or gameplay adjustments to make use of these Mindscapes. And for team composition, Yuzuha is an amazing unit that provides good general buffs, and her additional ability provides some specialized buffs for Anomaly team compositions. So, of course, Anomaly teams will be good options for Yuzuha. Some examples includes Miyabi, Yanagi, Yuzuha, a classic duo paired with the new Astra but for Anomaly units. Yanagi benefits a lot from Yuzuha because of the extra disorder damage, and the extra damage and build-up from Yuzuha also helps you trigger consistent disorders and keep up with stacks from Miyabi. But that's not the best thing that will make the most use of Yuzuha buffs and signature engine. The best thing that will benefit from every single stat from Yuzuha is Yanagi, Vivian, Yuzuha. An amazing option that stacks a lot of disorder damage buffs that allows Yanagi and Vivian to deal consistent and huge damage. Since these units have double scaling on anomaly proficiency, they benefit a lot from Yuzuha signature. And before you ask me, yes, Jane can also be paired alongside Yuzuha because the extra build-up helps Jane with consistent assault triggers, which is the main source of damage on Jane. However, keep in mind that every single time that you swap to Yuzuha with a defensive assist or just use her EX special, you will end up reducing Jane damage potential, because Yuzuha anomaly proficiency is way lower than Jane. So if you're playing Yuzuha in a physical team composition, it is highly recommended to stack anomaly proficiency on Yuzuha. Her signature engine definitely helps with this, but rolling substats will make a huge difference in your final damage. And finally, Yuzuha also works pretty well in non-anomaly teams. That's right, if you're not activating her additional ability, you can change your build a little bit and completely remove Anomaly Mastery. You can either go for energy regeneration on disc 6 or just use crit stats on disc 4. For example, I did a test using Yuzuha in an Evelyn lighter team and managed to get the same damage potential as Astra. Now, of course, this wasn't a fully optimized run on both sides, but we all know that Astra also provides extra chains for Evelyn, and the consistent quick assist makes any team composition easier to play. Quality of life is something that we can't calculate from spreadsheets, and it's really hard to evaluate these, since the value is based on your gameplay. And that's everything for my Yuzuha guide. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below or join my Discord server. I'm way more active over there, so check the link down in the description and join now. You can also catch me live on both YouTube and Twitch and ask me anything, and I'll do my best to help you. Thank you so much for watching this video, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video.